What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the NFL. We're going to be ranking wide receiver corps today. Every NFL team has a wide receiver corps. So let's just get right into this. This is going to be a fun video to rank. I'll just tell you that much. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the NFL. Please like and subscribe. Okay, let's get right into this. Titans receiving corps. Okay, I'm just going to go and show you. Okay, let's let this load. Either way, Titans, I'll just show you this really quick. So the Titans actually have a pretty darn good receiving corps. I have to admit that. Like, you obviously can't put the mark out that they have two legit number ones. AJ Brown is a beast. He's a little inconsistent with getting open. He's a really good jump ball receiver. He's pretty fast. He doesn't run the greatest routes, but he's still a really good receiver. He's definitely a deep threat. Julio Jones all around is a great receiver. Any asset of the game, if you need him to get a touchdown to do it, he's probably still the best receiver in the NFL. If he shows it, he just hasn't had the production, so I can't put him at that number one. But these two guys, they're great receivers. Julio Jones definitely the best in the team. Josh Reynolds with the Rams, he was probably their biggest downfield threat, but he's nothing really like that. Still a pretty good receiver, not great, but he does his job. Marcus Johnson, he's been lighting up in preseason. He looks like a pretty darn good player. Dez Fitzpatrick is absolutely the most explosive player on this roster. Here's the thing: AJ Brown and Julio Jones are two elite receivers. If you need a guy going deep, Dez Fitzpatrick has it. Here's why: he's a big play guy. That's all he really is. These guys aren't AJ Brown and Julio Jones aren't the guys you want to be going downfield every play. Here's why: because there's a good chance they'll be double covered. Dez Fitzpatrick, they won't afford to do that. He will get open. Chester Rogers, he's always been a decent receiver. Cameron Batson, he's always been solid. Nick Westbrook at comedy, whatever. The rest of these guys are special teamers. I like the receiving corps a lot, like a lot. So if I could grade them, this thing would just load. Okay, we're good. Okay. So I give them lots of depth. They have one of the best receiving corps in the NFL. I can't give it good. It's definitely better than good. It's a lot better. If they didn't have Julio Jones, good chance it would still be good because he's such a good receiver. Who do we have next? Dolphins. Ugh. This can be a pain sometimes. Either way, Miami Dolphins. Okay, they have a lot of really young receivers with a ton of speed. It's not a great receiving corps, I have to admit that. It's nothing special, but they have a lot of guys with a ton of. Okay, so if this thing can just load. I'm waiting. Yeah, okay, either way. Okay. Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, they're all pretty darn good, I have to admit that. Devontae Parker's probably the number one, if you ask me. Will Fuller, he was suspended. He's a solid good player. He gets injured a good amount, but he's still a really good player. Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle's interesting. He's so explosive. He's the fastest player in the draft. I'll just tell you that much. But he gets injured sometimes. I really like these top three. Albert Wilson, Preston Williams, Shane Grant, Matt Collins, Malcolm Perry. All these guys are pretty good. Allen Hurts isn't he on the IR? No, Lynn Bolden is. I don't know what. I think Allen Hurts got cut. Either way, they actually have a pretty good receiving corps. None of these five guys are really great, but they do their job, so I can't really give them a bad grade. If this thing could just load. So I'm gonna give them a good. They have a good receiving corps. It's nothing special, but it's definitely above average. Now we got the Browns. Okay, the Browns. I gotta grade them. The Browns. Okay, let's just look at. So you got Odell, of course. Odell, he's still one of the best receivers in the NFL. I will give him top 15. Honestly, yeah, probably. Odell's top 15. Jarvis Landry top 30, definitely. Rashard Higgins, Jonathan Peoples-Jones, Kadarius Hodge. They got all those guys are pretty darn good. But I'm gonna give them a good because they have two good receivers. They just don't have the depth I'd want. Like Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins are very inconsistent. You're not gonna get a ton out of them. So I'm gonna give them that good category. Now we go on to the next one. This is the Jags. The Jags are not the greatest receiving corps. If you ask me, they don't have the greatest receiving corps. But you look at it, there's a lot of young guys other than Marvin Jones and Philip Dorsett. It's like DJ Chark, he's still a really good player. Laviska Shenault, Colin Johnson, he's pretty talented, and then you got Jamal Agnew, who's a returner. But then you look at it like there's no superstars. It's not bad. Like they don't the only thing I've really be scared about is DJ Chark. Like Laviska Shenault's good too. There's other guys like who am I thinking? I'm forgetting one guy. Who is it? Oh gosh. Oh yeah, Marvin Jones. He gets in the end zone a lot. What am I saying? The Lions. The Lions is gonna be very quick. They have the worst receiving core in the NFL. Here's why. They don't have a number one. They don't have a number two. That's their problem. Tyrell Williams is a number 3 on the Chargers. That was actually his role. That should have been his role. Rashad Perryman may be a number 3. He's a decent slot, but he's nothing special at all. Quintus Cephas, whatever, and then there's a couple other guys that can do the job. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown's pretty decent. They just don't have anyone who's even remotely close to a number 1. Minnesota Vikings, it's good. Like, here's the thing. It would be great if anyone but the guys there. Here's the thing. Their top 2 receivers, Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, of course. But who do they have besides it? Olabisi Johnson, some random guy, the Smith, who is it? Oh yeah, Amarius Smith. He hasn't done anything in the league. Dan Chisna, whatever. KJ Osborne, nothing. Chad Beebe's not a good receiver. They don't have any depth other than they have 2 legit number 1s. That's it. Tampa's gonna be very quick. They're our top 3. I'm just gonna say this probably should be a top 2. I'm just gonna put it into top 2 because there's literally only 2 receiving cores that I consider elite. Wait, yeah, I'm just gonna change this to elite. There's only 2 receiving cores in the NFL I consider elite. Tampa is basically loaded. Their only problem is that they don't have a guy. They don't have a do-it-all player. What they do have is someone who can do pretty much anything. They don't have a route runner. That's their only problem. Everything else. Mike Evans jump ball. Chris Godwin touchdown. AB possession. He can do everything. He's a do-it-all. Scotty Miller's a deep threat. And then they have tight ends, of course, but Tyler Johnson, I'm forgetting about him too. Tyler Johnson, he can get catches too. But they have a trio of receivers that can do almost everything, and it's really hard to defend that. I'll just tell you that. San Fran, they have an average receiving core. They have guys that are so versatile. That's the thing about them. They have guys that are straight up just versatile. Like Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, those 2 guys alone are just super, super, super versatile. Then you got guys if you had to put them in, not Travis Benjamin, of course, but Trent Sherfield, he has to go out there. He won't be bad, but he won't do anything good. Like, that's the problem. They have 2 really versatile receivers, and then that's it. They don't have anyone else. They have a couple guys that you could put out there and they get catches, but that's really it. Trent Taylor, maybe. Richie James, he's pretty fast, but that's all you're going to get out of those guys. The Atlanta Falcons have a average receiving core to a below average one. Calvin Lee, Russell Gage, who else? Omi Zacchaeus, he's decent. Christian Blake, whatever. They don't really have anything else besides those 4 guys. Well, those 2 guys, honestly. If I just say that straight up. They are really lacking a receiver other than Calvin Ridley. That's going to hurt them, but they have a couple really good tight ends, so I think they'll be fine. The Ravens, it's to whatever. They tried to fix the receiving core. I don't know if it worked very well at all. Here's the thing. It's actually not as bad as people think. Marquise Brown, he's not a great receiver. I have to admit that. He's not worth that 25th pick. Next guy, Sami Watkins. He's fine. He's fine. We know we're going to get out of him. He's just going to be good 1 week, and he's going to be relevant the rest. Next guy, we got to think. Rashad Bateman, he's definitely the best receiver on the roster. Simple as that. Miles Boykin, Devin Duvernay, whatever. They'll do their job. And then you got to think, like James Prochet, nah. He's a special teamer. Either way. They get there's no one really special on that team. Definitely not a number 1. They need a number 1. Rashad Bateman probably could become it. But either way, yeah, they get that. So, as you know, I gave the Bears a B for their receiving core. I'm going to give them an average. Here's why. Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, and where the heck are my things? Either way. Darnell Mooney, Anthony Miller, Allen Robinson, Damiere Byrd, Marquise Goodwin, Javon Wims, Riley Ridley. like Daz Newsome, like it's I'll just give him like all these guys. Other than it's kind of like the Dolphins, I actually have to give them a B. Like it's not a bad receiving core. I just don't like any of the guys. It's not like they're not bad. Like Darnell Mooney is probably definitely one of the best number 3s. Not quite a number 2. Allen Robinson, of course, not a number 1. Anthony Miller, he's fine. It's kind of like the Dolphins. They have a lot of solid receivers, so I kind of have to give them the good, even if they don't have a really good number 2. Bengals, they're good. It's pretty simple. Like Jamar Chase does not look good. I have to admit that. He's getting open. He's just not catching the ball. That's his problem. So it's everything but catching the ball is getting good. And like I saw him in practice. Like there's just some like film you have to actually subscribe to get. And he was catching the ball like on jump balls, but he somehow can't get the routine stuff. It's weird. Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, they're fine. Tyler Boyd is fast, the opposite of T. Higgins. T. Higgins is one of the slowest receivers I've ever seen. Then you got Mike Thomas, Auden Tate. Those 2 guys are pretty decent. Like, they have a pretty good depth on the receiving core. Alex Erickson, they have some really close players. I like the receiving core a lot. Cowboys, man, they have a good receiving core. Here's why I'm not they're better than all these guys. They got a legit number 1. They got a legit number 1, a legit number 2, and a legit number 3. None of these teams have a legit number 1, legit number 2, and a legit number 3. Michael Gallup, so this is how it goes. It's going to go Mark Cooper, he's a number 1. CD, he can be a number 1, but he's definitely a number 2. And then you got Michael Gallup, who can't be a number 2, but he's a number 3. They have 3, and then of course you got Cedric Wilson, who can go in and do his job. And then they just called it, I forgot his name, whatever. They got a great receiving core, that's all I have to say. Texans, I'm going to give them the here's why. Where is it? Oh, yeah, okay. The Texans, so they have a number. I can't call Brandon Cooks a number 1 because he really isn't. He's never like been number 1 for a whole season. But Brandon Cooks, Kiki Cutie, Chris Conley, Andre Roberts, Dante Moncrief, Chris Moore, Isaiah Coulter, Alex Erickson's on their team. I just forgot about that. Other than Kiki Cutie, I don't like any of the receivers. Really, I just don't. They have Brandon Cooks, so they're not terrible, but I just don't like it. Colts, they're lacking a number 1. I can't give them terrible. They're not as good as that. No. They're average. Here's why. They don't have a number 1, but at least they have some depth. If you don't here's the thing. They don't have any depth. They don't have it. Neither team have any depth, but they have a number 1. They have my bad. The Ravens have some depth. They don't have a legit number 1. The Texans maybe have a number 1. They don't have any depth. Colts, they have no number 1. They have a couple number 2s, and they have good depth. So let me just talk about the Colts quick. Okay, the Colts have T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman, Paris Campbell can't stay on the field, Zach Pascal, Austin Dolan, and then of course Desmond Patton, Desean Jackson, DeMichael Harris, Gary Jennings. So here's the thing. Their best receiver is probably Michael Pittman. T.Y. Hilton, he gets open, but he's not the same guy he used to be, if anyone knows that. Then you got Paris. Then you have, like I just said, Paris Campbell's their probably best receiver. Paris Campbell's their most talented receiver. He's never on the field though. Zach Pascal, he gets open. Those 4 guys help. Austin Dolan and Desmond Patton. They're just not good. That's the thing about them. That's what makes them average. They have some good players. They just don't have a number 1. Rams, they're easily. I'm gonna give them a tie with the Bucs. They're both great receiving cores. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. Who else? What am I saying? Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell. Oh my gosh. And Desean Jackson. Desean Jackson, Tutu Atwell, deep threats. Cooper Kupp, route runner, yards after catch, slot, whatever one of those. Van Jefferson, they don't have a jump ball guy like the Bucs do. Well, they do. Jacob Harris is a jump ball guy. Bam, Jacob Harris, jump ball guy. Robert Woods, he's basically the same thing as Cooper Kupp, but he can run the ball even better. Van Jefferson, just a great route runner. That's all he is. They have speed. They now have a guy who can jump ball. They have a possession guy in Van Jefferson who can run routes too. just all around a great receiving core. The Chargers, I can't give them that because they have really no one other than Keenan Allen. Here's the thing. Keenan Allen's number one. We all know that. There's Mike Williams. He's definitely a good number two. He doesn't really get a ton of catches, but man, he can make some huge plays. Next, we have, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Guyton. He scored that game-winning touchdown. He's good, really good, too. Like, he's just a deep threat, but whatever. They have some guys behind him who's pretty good. I forgot something Johnson. He's played pretty darn well. They have some good players. Now we go to the Chiefs. Chiefs, I want to give them great, but are they great? Yeah, they are. So it's basically just deep threats, I have to admit that. But DeMarcus Robinson has turned himself into a decent number three, I have to admit that. But Tyreek Hill, definitely a number one. It's out of question. McCole Hardman, he's definitely a number two. Then Byron Pringle, if he has to go out there, he'll catch the ball. They have a really good receiving core. They have a legit number one, number two, and number three. That's what gets them there. Saints, I don't like it, but it's average at best. Here's why. Losing Emmanuel Sanders and Michael Thomas not being good, like in a mess right now, hurts them a lot. Their number three receiver, their number three receiver right now for week one is a return man in the name of Deontay Harris. Nothing against Deontay Harris, not a receiver. Traquan Smith, he's fine. He'll be their number one. Marquez Callaway, big play Callaway. He'll do his job. Those two guys are the only receivers I have any hope in. The rest, good luck, Saints. Giants, I'll give them the average. Like it was last year, but since they got Kenny Galladay, and now since they have Kenny Galladay, it really helps them. What you can't say is that like Kenny Galladay, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Kadarius, John Ross, CJ Gore, Pettis, like they have some decent depth, but I can't give him anything because Sterling Shepard has just not played well the past couple of years. 2018 was his best year as a pro, and it's not even been close to admit it. Not a great receiving core. Kenny Galladay is a number one. They just don't have anyone else to back him up. That I'm like, yeah, Darius Slayton, he just gets no separation, so it's really tough for me to put him anywhere else. But he's fine. But the receiving core is fine, I guess. Eagles, Devonte Smith makes it from instead of trash to Jalen Reagor, he's gonna get a couple catches a game. Travis Fulgham, same thing. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's a bust. Quez Watkins a big play every once in a while. Who else? Oh yeah, Greg Ward, whatever. I gotta think of another guy. There's a couple other guys I'm forgetting. Like really forgetting. Hey, whatever. Okay, yeah, there's no besides Devontae Smith that excites me that much. Steelers, it's average. Here's why. They don't have a guy other than Chase Claypool who does anything really. Chase Claypool is their best receiver. I'm sorry to say that. Well, Deontay Johnson's their best receiver. He has issues. Then Chase Claypool, then Juju. So they have a lot of good receivers. They just don't have anyone who I'm like, give them the good because none of them really performed that well last year. Broncos. That's a team that has an average receiving core. Nah. Here's the thing. They're gonna be an above average. I'm really harsh with receiving cores, but it's not good because Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. I just need to see one more season of Jerry Jeudy for them to put them here. Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick, Cleveland. Either way, I'm just spitting out names now. There's nothing really that scares me other than Cortland Sutton out there. Other than Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. I can't give them the good yet. They will have a good receiving core. I just need, once the season starts, I'll give them the good. I just can't give them yet. Packers. I don't care what people say. They have a good receiving core. Yeah, Devontae Adams might be the only one that's actually legit, but then you got like guys like Amari Rodgers, Allen Lazard, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Devin Funchess, who's out for the year. Randall Cobb now. They have a lot of solid receivers, and they have a lot of good depth. I can't give them the great because definitely not. But Aaron Rodgers has weapons to throw to. You can't make that my excuse anymore. Panthers, same thing. They have a good receiving core. They have two deep threats in DJ Moore and who else? Yeah, DJ Moore and DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. Those two guys are great. David Moore, Terrence Marshall, David Moore, they're two solid guys too. Like the receiving core, that's where they get the good. Raiders, it's an average one. Like Andrew Rush is their best player on offense, other than Darren Waller. It's pretty simple. Then you got, let me see, Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow's decent. Who else? Ryan Edwards. Yeah, there's not much really else. It's just like, yeah, it works. Washington, it's a good receiving core. Here's why. Terry McLaurin's a number 1. Curtis Samuel's a number 2. Adam Humphries is a number 3. Bam! It's not great. It could be great. It's just not. They don't have the weapons yet. Want to know a great receiving core? The Cardinals. Here's why. They have depth. I can literally just show you right now. If I can find it. Okay. Cardinals receiving core. DeAndre Hopkins. He's the best receiver in the NFL. Well, other than Devontae. AJ Green. Same. Number 2. Christian Kirk. Check. Desean Jackson. Check. Andy Isabella. Check. Christian Hogan. Check. Rico Gifford. If you need to put him out, whatever. And yeah, that's about it. But there's depth in the receiving core. Keyshawn Johnson finally said, yeah. The other Keyshawn Johnson. Yeah, they have a good receiving core. You just can't put that away from them. Bills. Here? Yeah, I'm going to give them the bit good. Here's why. I can't give them the great yet, and here's why. They have a number 1, a number 2, no, they don't have a number 3. That's the problem. I wouldn't call Gabriel Davis a number 3. Neither, same with Isaiah McKenzie. Oh, yeah, I forgot they had Emmanuel Sanders. Never mind. They do have a great receiving core. Yeah, everyone on that offense is going to be good. Here's the thing why. Because their quarterback's good. That's kind of how it works. Either way, yeah. Really good receiving core. That ton of depth is good. Seahawks. Want to give them the great. Here's the thing. Do they deserve it? I'm just going to put them in good for now, and I got to check their depth chart. Here's the issue. They have Freddie Swaim as their 3rd receiver, so I just can't put them out at good. Here's what. They have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are going to be on the field, and then Gerald Everett and Lou Disley are going to be on the field too. They're not going to put anyone else out there, I can tell you that for sure. But I can't give them the great yet. They have 2 really good receivers. Other than that, besides the Titans actually have better depth, they have no depth. That's their problem. The Jets. It's still Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, they help a lot. They got their slack. Jameson Crowder, Denzel Mims good too. I just don't love it at all, other than Elijah Moore, but it's fine. It works. Patriots, they were actually really bad, but now they're average, I guess, because they have Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, all those guys are good. That's the end of the video. Sorry it was so long. I just had to talk about all these teams receiving cores because they're so important. Yeah, either way, like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed the video.